Think online courses only work in the business to business or digital marketing industry? Think again. Lizzie Bolliger is a doula and childbirth educator who enrolled in my program, Course Creator School. She was already working with clients one-on-one. She had started to grow a following and an audience on Instagram, and she knew that her next best step was to launch a digital course. And that is exactly what she did. Let me wow you with a couple of stats before we get into the interview. During the first 6 months after enrolling in my program, Lizzie grew her email list from 66 subscribers to over 850. She grew her Instagram audience from 9,000 followers to over 14,000 followers. She created and launched her very first digital course, making over $3,300 in revenue. She then went on to do a flash promotion and made over $7,000 in revenue. And now she's just growing at lightning speed. This is a really great case study to learn from. Let's dive into the interview. Hi, everybody. We are here with Lizzie Bolliger. Lizzie is a doula and childbirth educator who empowers expecting moms to have their best pregnancy, birth, and postpartum with a balance of mom intuition, evidence-based practices, and knowing what is physiologically normal. She empowers expecting moms who want an unmedicated birth to have the positive birth experience they deserve and educate them on their options, the physiological side of birth, and the support they need to go unmedicated with an online birth course created specifically for the unmedicated hospital birth. Lizzie, I am so excited to have you jump on with me here today.
I'm excited too. Anytime I can talk about birth, or even I just love being a business owner, and I love talking about all of it. So
yes,
I'm excited.
And baby is with us today, which I'm so excited about.
Yes. And that's how, that is part of my business model is I always have a baby somewhere close by.
Oh, I love it. So tell us a bit more, Lizzie, about how you got started with your business.
Okay. So I used to be a teacher in the classroom. That was my first career, and I was in the public school system for 5 years, and I taught math. So I've always been like a teacher and a helper. And this is a long story, so I'm just going to give you like the cliff notes.
Yes. But
after I had my second child and going back to the classroom, that transition was really difficult for me. And it really spurred my postpartum depression, and I couldn't handle it. So and this is the long story part. I ended up taking leave and then deciding during that leave that I was going to resign. And that kind of spurred me to think, okay, so I need something that is more doable for me as a mom with young children at home.
Right.
And at that same time, lacking so much support as a mom. And of course, I've always been like a birth nerd and into birth and into pregnancy. And so it just made sense to kind of go into that world where I'm still like helping and teaching, doing something that is more sustainable for me and my family, where I could focus, where I need to focus. And I know you understand that because that is part of your reasoning too. So I got started as a doula. And this is the funny part too, is initially I just wanted to do postpartum doula work where you go into women's homes and or moms in postpartum, and you help them manage postpartum so they can focus on the baby. You do everything else for them. And because I was struggling in postpartum, so I was like, women need this, we need this help. But at the time when I enrolled to get that certification, they were having such a good sale that I added on childbirth education. I was like, ooh, I love teaching. I love childbirth. This is great. I'm going to add it on, get that certification also. And then, I got pregnant again, and then everything got shut down. Women didn't want people in their homes. So I had to totally change gears and go virtual. And I kind of started doing postpartum support virtually, but it's just not as valuable as having someone in your home, of course. Right. I mean, you can still get that emotional support. But I really had to, rethink my business model here. Like, what are we going to do? And that's when I leaned into the childbirth education side of things and started doing that virtually for my clients.
What a great story. And kind of incredible that you were able to pivot right in that moment. Like you were just about to launch what sounds like an entirely different style of business.
Yes.
And maybe the pivot in a certain kind of way was the best move for you, especially where you are right now with all of your children at home and still being young? Like, some of the in-person stuff might come later in your business as the world reopens, but especially for you now with these littles at home, feels to me like the virtual is almost even a better fit.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It was like very like serendipitous how it just guided me towards that, and it worked out really well. I mean, I honestly didn't even get to start my postpartum work. I had clients cancel on me that I had already booked.
Right.
So yeah, it's funny how it was just a funny pivot. You're right.
So you have been a student of mine in a couple of my programs. Do you mind? It's been Course Creator School and Build Your List Bootcamp. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. And why? So actually, I think we've kind of answered this question, which is like the why you wanted to add an online course to your business model, which was the pivot to going virtual. But I would love for you to clarify why an online course versus just offering virtual services. Like,
absolutely.
Like one-on-one.
Right. Know? So I did start with one-on-one. So this was like at the very beginning of the year, January 1st. So prior to that, I was doing like postpartum virtual.
Right.
And it just wasn't very consistent. It was very sporadic. And I didn't really, it was just like, 30-minute time slots here and there. And I needed something more consistent. And so on January 1st, I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing childbirth education. I'm going to add that in. And I booked a few clients one-to-one, and the class was so long. It was so long, and I was getting so tired, and it was just like I was trying to squeeze everything into like a 2-hour call, and it was impossible. And then I started booking 2 calls, and it was just a lot.
And then repeating
it really made sense to be able to do an online course, not just to benefit me in terms of like having to sit there and talk for so long, but it really benefits my clients in being able to work through at their own pace. I was able to include way more information, way more resources, homework assignments, and they can revisit too. So the other problem with the childbirth ed is like you're sitting there and you're learning it all in one fell swoop, and then you don't have your baby for another month. So I really love the idea of like chunking it up and then being able to work through it and revisit when needed.
Yeah, it's so interesting when you say that, because I did in-person childbirth education classes with my first. And you're right, in the moments after the baby was born, when I actually really needed to go back and revisit, especially some of the stuff that we talked about around breastfeeding, I was stuck because I couldn't like teleport myself back into that session. Nothing was recorded. So I was having to rely on like my notes. So no, that makes a lot of sense. So tell us a bit about launching that course for the first time.
Okay. So like I said, I January 1st, I was like, I'm going to do, online birth courses, and I'm going to start one-to-one, but my goal was always to get it pre-recorded and get it somewhere so I could get more clients in for all those benefits we talked about. And it just wasn't happening, Gemma. Like I was like, okay, when I get this next one-to-one client, I'm going to record some of it and use some of that. And it just didn't happen. And that wouldn't have been a great format anyways, but I was like trying to figure out, how am I going to record, so I need to set aside time to record my lessons, and then I'll have an online course. And once you take Gemma's course, you realize you're doing it all backwards, but I didn't know that at the time. And I just kept saying, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And when did I enroll in Course Creator School? When did you launch?
I want to say it was like May, like the spring. Yeah.
So I wanted to start in January, and I hadn't done diddly for an online course until May. And it was like always, okay, in research mode, like figuring things out. And
that can take so much more time than you think it's going to take. Like researching, I remember sitting and looking at just simple software things and then going down the rabbit hole, and it's spending weeks just trying to figure out what was the right move for me for this one piece of software, which is such a waste of time.
Absolutely. And like, I definitely had sat down and kind of did like an outline. And, you have to remember that I have a background in education. So I have a little bit of knowledge on how to build something like this, but it just wasn't coming. Like, I'm a mom, I have my kids at home. I'm still like doing the social media side of things and having a few clients here and there. And it just wasn't happening. So once I enrolled, that was the reason why it was like, okay, I just need to start. And I did your free 5-day course prep.
Yeah. Like event prep school.
Okay. Prep school. That's what I want to say. I did that and I got like a little taste of what you offer. And in those 5 days, you gave me so much to take action on. And here's the thing, it's simple. Like, what you're telling me to do is not hard, but you're telling me exactly how to do it, in what order, and it takes out all of the guesswork and makes it simple for me to do with everything else going on. So after I did those 5 days, we talk about like the different types of purchasers, like the researchers, and so this is me. I think about something for, how long did we say? 5 months. Yeah. And then when I finally do it, it's so emotional and it's just, I need this. It's going to change my life. Right. I need it. So that's what I did. Like, during your final webinar on Friday, I purchased right then and there before you even stopped talking. And I got started. I started right away. And what I was procrastinating or trying to figure out or trying to make time for 5 months, I did in 2 months.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. I mean, not only did I like take your course, most of it, enough, you kind of get started while you're taking the course, right? Took your course and launched a course in 2 months.
Yeah, like, that's in 60 days. Like, that's amazing. And what's so cool about that to me is like, that's just the beginning. Like, 12 months from now, imagine where your business is going to be because you have taken the action to build out this asset for your business now that is going to be just something that you can continue to grow month over month, year over year.
Absolutely. And so many times I had thought like, oh, okay, well, when I have this course, it's going to be easier because, I'm going to have the course laid out. It's going to be so much easier. I know it's a lot of work, but then I'm going to be able to have more clients and it doesn't have to be perfect because then I'm going to tweak it, but I just wasn't getting started. So I just can't get over how simple it was. Like, everything you told me to do, it was nothing difficult or scary or hard. It's so simple. It's just, you need someone that has that expertise and knows what to do rather than doing all these trial and error things and trying to like hodgepodge it together.
Well, that's it. And going down 1,000 tangents and not getting the results that you got, which was in 60 days. So tell us a bit, you launched Unmedicated Academy. And you launched it as this first round kind of cohort for women who are expecting during, they had to have their due dates, right? Within a certain time frame.
Yeah, I was trying to keep the due dates. I want moms to enroll around 34 weeks. So they have 6 weeks to do it. But a lot of moms took advantage of the launch price and are still like not due till December or January. But most of my moms were due in September, October. So we've already had 3 babies born. One mom is like in early labor right now. And then the rest are going to be coming over the next few months. But yeah, that's what I did. So I followed your live launch calendar. I just did what you told me to. I used Instagram as my main, where I talk about my course and where I find new clients. That's my main hub right there. So I just took what you said to do and did it on my Instagram and I enrolled 12 moms. Like, I don't know how it happened. I just followed the directions.
And think about what I love to think about is like, man, having 12 clients that you would have done that one-on-one childbirth education for would have taken up so much time for you. And so to pop them all into a group together and to, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there any community aspect to the program? Like, did those moms in any way get to kind of virtually meet each other?
We have a Facebook group.
You have a Facebook group. Amazing.
Yeah, like a Q&A session. So they've kind of interacted a little bit there. Yeah,
and what's
so
cool about that is like your one-on-one clients, the virtual ones, never would have gotten that. And I think especially as a new parent, there's never been a time where in my life where I was more desperate for connection than when I was expecting my first baby and right after I'd had my first baby. And I still talk with the 4 other moms that were in my childbirth education group. Like we still, it's not like we're best friends, but we chat and keep tabs on each other and that kind of thing. It's such an important time in someone's life. So I love that aspect of your program. So let's talk, if anybody knows me, they know I love like some numbers. So let's get like quantitative here for a second and talk about some of the numbers, and I have them here. So Lizzie, don't worry if you don't have them in front of you.
Perfect, because I don't have them.
Yes, I wrote them down. I'm going to read some of them out because I think some of these are really incredible. So your email list, so let's talk about that first, because your email list grew from 66 people to currently 850.
Yes, and it might even be more than that because I sent you those numbers.
Yeah, a couple booked the call. Yeah. So like to me, that's epic. That's amazing. You'll obviously, we're only into September. So you're going to close out the year at over 1,000 people on your email list. Easy peasy. Mm-hmm. So that is really exciting, especially because you hadn't really been focusing on your email list prior to this.
That's what I was going to say. I wasn't doing any email list at all. And those 66 people came from maybe like 2 years ago, or like when I first was like, oh, I'm going to become a doula. I had already like an email list someplace that I had started at one time. And I used to do social selling too. So I had some people on that email list that wouldn't even be my like ideal clients, like not even following me for pregnancy or anything like that. So I went to that old email list and I weeded out all the ones that were in there from before. And those 66 that I brought over were just ones that had signed on at some point for some freebie that I offered way back when. So basically zero. Like I wasn't doing anything with my email list. And Build Your List Bootcamp is really the course of yours that got me. So I did start with that before I did First Creator School because I wanted to hit 200. That was my goal. I was like, I want to hit 200 on my email list before I launch my course. And you, I don't know if you remember this, but you and I hopped on a call and I said that I was like, I want 200 on my email list. And you were like, you don't need 200 on your email list. You have a lot of people on Instagram. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to drop that notion that I have to have 200. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do the live launch calendar. And the actions in the live launch calendar grew my list past 200 before I launched. So it wasn't like I had to hit 200 before I could start my launch.
Yeah, exactly. Because that first launch webinar of yours, you got 217 opt-ins. So like, boom, just the webinar that you did during that live launch got you that 200 and then some. So I love that. And your course revenue for that first launch, those 12 founding students turned into 3,300 USD, which is awesome.
Yeah, and that actually includes, so that's my total so far. Okay. So the first 12 was a little less than that, but I have since threw out some other offers from my course. So like I pulled apart my course and did like a couple standalone.
Yep.
And I was able to get some additional revenue that way, almost an extra $1,000. So
amazing.
Yeah.
So we're sitting at 3,300 for right now. And your Instagram has also, even though it's not like I teach Instagram inside of Course Creator School, but we do talk about attracting an audience and how to, bring in your ideal student into your kind of community. And you rock it on Instagram. If we're going to make sure that we link to the Instagram with this, but it's Fierce Lizzie. If anyone wants to go look her up right now. You grew from just over 9,000 followers all the way up to over 14,000 within this time frame as well.
Yeah, and like you said, you don't necessarily, you're not Instagram specific, but I'll tell you, it had been a goal. Like, I need to grow my Instagram. Like, I'm always trying to get exposure there. That's my main place. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening until I started implementing the things from your course and from Build Your List Bootcamp and doing that live lunch calendar. So it's really, even though you're not focusing on Instagram, the tips that you're giving, you know, they work whatever platform you're using. And, you know, I will say I did already have a little bit of background from that social selling, like on how to work Instagram, like make it work. But the growth wasn't happening until I started that live launch calendar. And you kind of lay out like, okay, this is the type of content that you need to be posting. And that is really what worked. And Reels, like I took your advice and then applied it to Instagram and Reels specifically, and they just blew up.
Yeah, that's so amazing. And that's really true of content marketing, full stop, is like, you actually just need to have clarity around what you're offering, who it's for, and the types of content that really are going to resonate with people. And whether it's on Instagram, in a Facebook group, on LinkedIn, whatever next platform is coming out, doesn't really matter. The overall art, like message and strategy, is the same. So I love that.
Absolutely. And I will say that one thing that your course really did for me, and it's the first thing we do and I think it's in Course Creator School, that I started doing that assignment and I was like, you know, like, this is exactly what I needed. And it teaches you who you're serving and what your purpose is and your vision in your business. And I was totally lacking that. I mean, I had it inside of me, but I wasn't like regurgitating it enough to then put it in my content marketing.
Yes.
So that made a huge difference, is me knowing, like, who am I here to serve? How am I serving them? Okay, now let's tell everybody that.
That's right. So tell us what's next. What's next for you and your business, and where are you headed?
So like you say, in Course Creator School, wash, rinse, and repeat. So I'm launching again this fall. So I'm working on the live lunch calendar again, and, you know, changing it up a little bit, but really applying the same steps. And I'm going to open up the doors again to my course. And then after that, my plan is to go evergreen, which is what you teach also, because I have so many moms that are contacting me between launches that want in, and, you know, one, I don't want to turn those clients away. And two, I just know how valuable my course is, and I don't want them walking away empty-handed, which is one of the reasons that I did pull apart my course a little bit, because it was something that I could offer, even though they couldn't come into the Unmedicated Academy, they could still, you know, take something away to prepare them for childbirth.
I love that. It sounds to me like you've now built something up that is going to allow you to have so much like room and flexibility and room for growth and next steps in your business. I can't wait to catch up in 6 months or in 12 months and hear what you've done, because I'm just so excited for you. I am sending anybody I know who's about to have a baby. I send them your Instagram, if only just to watch all your reels, because they're so good. You like pop up first on my news feed every day.
Oh, and, good. It's working.
It's working. It's so good. Yeah. So before we wrap up, Lizzie, what would you say to someone if they're on the fence about joining Course Creator School or any of my other programs? Is there any like last sort of pieces of advice that you might give them?
Absolutely. I mean, if you want to do it, you have to start. Trying to piece it together and go to Google University is not serving you, and you're wasting time. And I mean, if it's the cost, like, I got it back in 2 months. I got more than the cost of your course back in 2 months. So it's a no-brainer. It's really, if this is something that you want in your business, invest in it, and it's gonna come back to you.
It's gonna reap the rewards. Yeah. So where can people find you? Give us the scoop.
Okay, so like I said, Instagram is where I hang out all the time. So at Fierce Lizzie on Instagram, and you can, I mean, if you just go there, everything is linked there, but my website is also lizziebolliger.com.
Yeah, we'll make sure that that's linked with this But thank you so much, Lizzie, for coming on. I so appreciate your time. And you've got a beautiful sleeping baby with you. It looks so peaceful where you are.
Yeah, she slept the whole time. Sometimes I get really excited. You know, she's with me on most of my calls. I get really excited. I wake her up, but we did good.
Today was gold. Well, thank you so much. And I'm sure everybody has been so, inspired by listening to this story. Because one of the things, actually, before we totally finish, is that I love talking. Of course, I love chatting with people in the B2B entrepreneurship niche, but I also just think it's so inspiring when we see this model of the online course kind of coaching business model in other niches, in parenting, in wellness, in the creative arts, in other spaces, because I feel like that is something that comes up for people a lot. Is like, well, can this really work for me? I'm only seeing it work for people who talk about making money. And it's just refreshing to see it, played out in an entirely different industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the online course world is not going anywhere. Yeah. It just, more people need to find it. And it's so funny because I want to say your course is the first online course that I've invested in. And I've since invested in more because they're so valuable.
They're so valuable.
And I'm a learner. Like, I love learning, and it's such an easy way to access more information and access the experts, really, like the most convenient time-wise and investment-wise.
I found the same thing. The first course I enrolled in was like a game changer for, at the time I was writing a blog, game changer for my blog. And I was like, oh my God, I moved the needle more in those like 2-3 months than I had probably in the last 2 or 3 years. Yes. And so it was a no-brainer for me to continue investing in education and professional development from there. So appreciate you, Lizzie. Thank you so much again for your time and for coming on today.
Thank you, Gemma.